Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is mentor of Faiza Shaikh. This video is going to very interesting because in this video going to introduce and also explain the three wonderful tragedies of the William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare, as you know, they're one of the biggest wonderful writer, theater writer, dramatist, artist, etc. So here are three tragedies: the tragedy of the Julius and Caesar, the tragedy of the Macbeth, King Lear. So, firstly, discuss the tragedy of the Julius. It portrays the 44 BC conspiracy against the Roman dictator Julius Caesar, his assassinations, and the defeat of the conspirators of the Battle of the Philippi. It is one of the several Romance plays the Shakespeare wrote based on the true events from Roman history, which also includes Coriolanus and Antony and Cleopatra. As you know, although the title of the play is in the Julius Caesar, Caesar is not his most visible character in his section, but he appears in only 3 scenes and is killed at the beginning of the third etc. Marcus Brutus speaks more than 4 times as many lines in the central physiological drama in his struggle between the conflicts demands of the honor, patriotisms and the friendships. Basically, Marcus Brutus is a Caesar's closed friend and the Roman praetors are magistrate of the ancient Rome. Next below and council in rank, Brutus allows himself for his cajoled into the ongoing and joining of the groups, conspiring senators because of the growing suspicious implanted by the Cassius that the Caesar intend to turn republican Romeo into the monarchy under his own life. So, furthermore, the early scenes deals mainly with Brutus' arguments with the Cassius and his struggle with his own conscience. The growing tide of the public support soon turns Brutus against the Caesars. This public support was actually faked. Cassius wrote letters to the Brutus in different and handwriting over the next month in order to get Brutus to join the conspiracy. A soothsayer warns Cassius to be aware the ideals of the march, which is ignored, culminating in his assassinations at the capitals by the conspirator the laity. Despite being warned by the soothsayer and the Artemidorus, one of the Caesar's supports at the entrance of the capital. Caesar comes to the Senate. The conspirator create superficial motive for the assassination by the means of the petition brought by the Metellus Cimber, basically pleading on the behalf of his banished brother. As Caesar predictably rejects the petitions, Cassica grazes Caesar in the back of his neck and the other follows in the stabbing him. Brutus is lost. At this point, Caesar utters the famous lines. So Shakespeare has him at then falls Caesar, suggesting that the Caesar did not want to survive, such as the tragedy, such as the tragedy. Caesar assassinations is one of the most famous scenes of the plays occurring in the Act 3. The conspirators makes clear that they committed this act of the wrong, not for their own purpose, and do not attempt to flee the scene. After Cassius' death, Brutus delivers on ornations, defending his actions and for the moment of the crowd on his side. So further, However, Mark Antony, with the subtle and the eloquent speech over Caesar's corpse. So at the end, the play ends with the tribute to the Brutus by the Antony, who proclaims that the Brutus had the remained. So the noblest Roman of them all, because he was the only conspirator who acted for the good of the Rome. There is small line the friction between Mark Antony and the Octavius, which will characterize another of the Shakespeare's Roman plays, Antony and Cleopatra. So this is all about the tragedy of the Julius Caesars. So next is the tragedy of the Macbeth. The tragedy of the Macbeth, commonly called the Macbeth, is a tragedy by the William Shakespeare about a man who commits suicides so as become king and then commits further murder to the maintain his power. The play clearly demonstrates the corruption effects of the ambitions, but also deals with the relationship between currently and the masculinity, tyranny and the kingship, trickery, violence, guilt, prophecy, and the disruptions of the natural orders too. So King James was a patron of Shakespeare's acting company, and of all the plays Shakespeare wrote under the James region, Macbeth most clearly. So next one is King Lear. Basically, King Lear is a tragedy by William Shakespeare. The title character descends into the madness after foolishly disposing of his estate between two of his three daughters based on their flattery, bringing tragedy consequence for all. The play is based on the legend of the Lear of the Britain, a mythological pre-Roman Celtic king. Basically, Shakespeare's earlier version, the true chronicle of the history of life and death of the king and Lear of his three daughters, was published in quarto in 1608. The tragedy of the King Lear is a more theatrical version, was included in the 1623 first folio. Modern editors usually conflate the two, though some insist that each version has its individual integrity and should the preserve. George Bernard Shaw wrote, "No man will ever write a better tragedy than Lear." King Lear, who is elderly, wants to retire from power. He decided to divide his realm among his three daughters and efforts of the largest share of the one of who loves him best. Gondriel and the Regan both proclaims in the fulsome terms that they love him more than anything in the world, which pleased him. For Cordelia, there is nothing to compare the love to nor words to properly express, is she speaks honestly but bluntly, which infuriates him in his anger and disinherits her and divides the candidate's objects of the unfair and treatment. Lear, truly enlarged by the Kant's protest, and banished him from the community. So this is one of the wonderful story of King Lear. So maybe I hopefully you have been understood three tragedies. These are wonderful stories and with wonderful characters. So because writer is very dominant in these plays, so I hope you have been understood. Don't forget like, share and subscribe too. ओके, दुआ में याद रखिएगा. इजाज़त दीजिए. अल्लाह हाफिज़. James was a patron of Shakespeare's acting company, and of all the plays Shakespeare wrote under the James region, Macbeth most clearly reflects the playwright's close relationship with the sovereign. Macbeth is Shakespeare's shortest and a bloodiest tragedy, and tells the story of the brave Scottish general named Macbeth who received prophecy from a trio of the witches that one day he will become king of the Scotland. Consumed by the ambitions and spurred, impelled, or inspired to actions by the wife, Macbeth murders King Duncan and takes the throne of his himself. His reigns wrecked with the guilt and the paranoia, and he soon becomes a tyrannical ruler as he is forced to commit more and more murders to protect himself from enmity and the suspicions.